myself Rajesh Nayak from Premier Chess Academy. Welcome all of you to our World Chess Championship video series. And today we are going to witness the third round of World Chess Championship 2023. After the second round win, Ian Nepomniachtchi take a draw from white pieces in the third round. We are going to analyze the game from the very beginning, where Ian Nepomniachtchi playing with white pieces and Ding Laurent playing with black pieces. So, without wasting any time, let's move towards the game. The game started with d4. All of you know Ian Nepomniachtchi is a very interesting chess player, can play multiple chess opening theories. So he started the first game of World Chess Championship with e4, and he is also a very attacking chess player. So he decided to change the opening with d4 after his victory in the second round. So it will be very interesting to see how he is going to come up with new ideas in his upcoming games. So as well as Ding Liren reply knight f6, which is his usual chess theory, the line he used against many top players, c4, e6, knight c3, and d5. A well queen's gambit position occurs in the board, and both players have a good knowledge in this position from white side as well as from black side. So the game continues, takes on d5, takes on d5, bishop g5. So here, what I feel, Ian Nepomniachtchi at some point taking a very safe decisions. His target is to make few more draws in the next couple of rounds and take the lead to at least sixth or seventh round, so the pressure will arise or pressure will rise more on Ding Laurent because he is down to 1 point. So bishop g5, c6, e3, h6, bishop h4, bishop e7. This is all theory and very well known opening setup. Bishop d3, castle, queen c2, rook e8, knight e2. So white developed all of his pieces and aiming for a short castle or a long castle. I've seen many ideas with long castle, g4, g5 idea. It seems very interesting, but with playing this system in a world championship match is very risky. And the point Ian Nepomniachtchi is in, he just needs a few draws to put more pressure on his opponent. So the game continued knight d7. This idea is pretty quick, pretty interesting. Knight f8 or knight h5 or knight e6. So these are the knight maneuvers that black is aiming at. So after knight d7, white simply castle and black play a5. So black, what is the idea of a5 if you ask? It simply stops the minority attack plan from white side. Usually in this pawn structure, if you see, white has a good minority attack chances where white will play rook b1, b4, a4, b5 and try to create a weakness on c6. So black play a5 just to prevent this idea before it even occurred. So white play a3. Again, white is creating the same kind of threats, playing with the idea of rook b1, with the idea of b4 and b5, creating the minority attack, which is the basic idea of this set as white. So knight h5, trading the dark square bishop, takes on e7, queen e7, and white continue rook e1. White shifted his plan to the center files. Now maybe white has some ideas related with knight g3, f3, e4, and try to break the center in a right movement. Both the rooks are placed in a very well positioned. One is on e1 and other one is on f. Black come up with the idea of knight f8, as we have discussed a little bit earlier, that this knight should head towards the f8 e6. Sometimes it can like defend the king side with being on f8, and slowly black try to improve his pieces. Knight c1 played by white. So if you ask me, I will like the idea of knight c1. Maybe it has idea of getting knight b3, knight c5, because c5 is somewhat a weak square. Or just to play f3, e4, you just bring the knight to c1 so that the e3 pawn get defended by the e1 rook. So knight f6 to stop this e4 idea, and also the knight on h5 is actually doing not so good ideas from h5 square. So he just bring back his knight on f6, control moves over the e4 square. f3, as we have discussed, this f3 e4 break is white's important idea when he play rook to e1. Can like bring his pawn to f3, pawn to e4, so that the central break help white to gain the initiative. Black continue knight e6. A very tricky decision by black, just to put pressure on this d4 and stopping white's idea of. And also, if you look at the position, if you go e4 at some point, this knight f4, knight into d4, these tricks need to be paired. White continue knight e2, defending the f4 and the d4 square simultaneously and threatening e4 straight. Black continues c5, again stopping the opponent's idea of e4, because now if you go e4, again this d4 pawn is weak. So white play bishop b5, taking the advantage that opponent just play c5, b5 with a big square. So he just play bishop b5, rook to d8. So what white is actually aiming at is bishop d7. Then maybe he can trade this bishop after bishop b5, rook d8 played. But yes, black can play bishop d7 for sure. In this, so bishop b5 a very strong move that just bring the bishop to the b5 square, which is pretty weak after c5 move. And what is aiming like if bishop d7 in this position, he may trade this bishop at some for a favorable position, because after bishop d7, maybe queen d7, and the d5 is somewhat weak afterwards. So, and also there is no more danger in taking c5, because the d4 will weak and the rook may come on d5, put pressure on the d5. But what black decide to do is to play very solid rook d8, so that he can overprotect his d5 pawn, and in future he has some ideas with d4 break too. Take on c5, now queen c5. As I told you, black is not aiming to give the d4 square. If knight c5 in this position, white can easily put one of his knight on d4, and white is like enjoying a small advantage here. He can double up the rook on d5, slowly put his queen on f2, and put more and more pressure on the opponent d5. So here black decided to capture the pawn with the queen, and he has now striking ideas like d4 and open up the piece. Because once the position get open, this king find himself in a very little weak position, because he already committed f3. So queen d2 to stop the idea of d4. Because in this position, if you go d4, then I can simply capture knight d4, let's say pawn d4, and maybe you can go, I can go pawn d4, rook d4, and I think in this position I just play queen f2, and this pin is somehow annoying, and I find white is completely fine in this position. But again, I would like to say that black play bishop d7. First, black like to trade this light square bishop before going to for d. Take on d7, knight d7. So what he is aiming now is just to put his knight on e5, knight c4, and attacking this pawn on b2, or create some threat against b2 and e3. White play knight d4. White's idea is very simple here to trade a couple of pieces or even trade the queen to get a very equal position. After knight d4, black play knight d6. Black has no intention of going to this endgame, which may favor white, or it may be completely equal afterwards, like pawn into and this knight on d7 find himself in a difficult situation. d5 under attack, and white can slowly improve his position without any. So that's the reason after knight d4, black choose knight b6 move rather than knight into d4. White overprotects his d4 square, knight c4, queen f2. The queen on f2 is defending both b2 and e3. So here black continue rook c8. Maybe he is threatening some ideas like knight c3, knight into b2, queen into c3. But one thing in this position I would like to say, if in this position knight into b2 or knight into a3 may not work because maybe knight b2, queen b2, the c3 knight is protected. So rook c8 to get the idea of knight b2 war. Rook, then black continue knight a4, defending the pawn on b2. And the knight on a4 is also attacking the opponent's queen. Queen e7, rook e1, defending the e3 pawn, and also after knight into d4, you will see the rook is getting a very strong open file. And black continue queen f6, knight b5, putting more pressure on the d5 square with some ideas like knight 5 c3 or rook d3, rook d1, attacking the d5 pawn. Knight c7, black like to trade few minor pieces so he can defend his d5 securely, and also he is putting pressure on the b2 pawn. His queen and c4 knight is very well placed. So white is not in intention to trade this knight and play knight d4. Black repeat here move and the game end in a draw very soon on move number 30 or 31, like the game end in a draw. So we see a very peaceful result today, and we may see a very fighting game from Dingleren as white pieces in the next round. We will be analyze that video too. So stay tuned with us and please like the videos, the ideas. If you have any suggestion, any feedback, please bring it to us. We will definitely work on it and enjoy the World Chess Championship, and let us know in the comment who you are voting for, Dingleren or Ian match. So see you guys everyone in our next round 4 World Chess Championship video. Till then, have a great day. See you guys. Tata. Bye bye.